is de behoefte aan het niet
proposées. Baba.
33. The operation of the machine becomes so obvious. I just don't think it part. That you can't take part. You can't even possibly take part. And you got to put your mind years upon the wheel. Upon the wheel. All the apparatus, and you got to make it stop. You got to undertake the people who run it, the people who run it.
Mecca's on.
What is happening, everybody? Florida Metal Radio, Fabulous B, CMP, both bringing you the band Defixion from San Diego, California with Osity. So how are you doing tonight, man?
Hey guys, hi Brad, hi Chris, Oshiri Abalal. I'm doing okay, and thank you very much for having me and all of us. Really,
Absolutely.
really excited to be here. You guys are very, very pro in what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We definitely appreciate that. We definitely want to make an impact, and it's nice that you've heard of us over there in California. So we definitely want to keep this ball rolling, and we want to give the spotlight to bands like yourself.
Thank you so much, man. And you guys do. You're very serious at what you do, and you try to keep what we were talking about minutes ago. The whole package about concept and graphics and music and everything. And you guys are doing a really, really good job. So keep it up, man.
Definitely appreciate that. That is definitely that's very humbling to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like I don't think you've heard yet, but I was like in the promotions, pretty much managerial type setup for almost 20 years on and off, so up until this point. So I pretty much know a lot about what me and Brad are doing. It's just like it's a creative concept that just came together over. That's how we met.
Yeah.
20-some years ago. So here we are.
Well, that's one of the most beautiful things about metal music. It brings so many rebels and creative people and thoughtful people together, acting like a family to promote what we love most: music and art and brotherhood and beer. Those things. It's beautiful.
Exactly.
The giant family.
So, Osity, you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your band, Defixion?
What would you like to know exactly in terms of like concept or history, or what would you like to guys? What would
Well,
you like guys to know?
how did you guys come together as a band?
Well, the band started with a dear friend of mine, and by then we had the basic idea of getting together and starting a death metal project as orthodox as possible, with a very strong root in Swedish sound as possible, at the time. But very, very quickly that morphed into something a little bit more conceptual. And that's when I decided to go back inwards and focus on the esoteric message that the word the fiction actually promotes, contains, if you may.
Okay.
The fiction comes from the Greek word defigo, which means I bind, is a binding spell. But you also have the other meaning, which is an execration text, a curse tablet, a damnation tablet. So you have those two concepts, is on one
Okay.
hand a binding spell, and on the other hand is also a curse tablet. So I decided to go very inward and to ask myself, what message, what image do I want to convey? And that's when everything started coming together.
Okay.
And then
So
suddenly two members turn into four with same concept, better concept, a little bit of depth as well.
okay. So I noticed that on your Facebook, there was something along the lines of like mythology and stuff like that. Is this something that's behind the Greek mythology, or
Although a lot of documentation comes from the Greek culture because it's one of the well documented cultures, when it comes to antiquity. Um, there are a lot of cultures that we also read from: Babylonian, Assyrian, even Nordic. The concept of the damnation, the imprecation, the cursing something or somebody. You guys know that is very universal when it comes to human and spiritual forces. So yes, there's a lot of that, but not specifically, But we do like the Greek side of it. That is for sure.
okay?
It's absolutely for sure.
And is that where you get a lot of your creativity, where it comes to writing songs and everything? Is it more along the lines of the mythology side of things, or the theology behind the damnation and everything?
The concept is to represent, to invoke, and to evoke the forces. And yes, mythology as well, of course, because the power of belief can be really questioned by many. What I firmly believe in, it can be completely rubbish for you, and so on and so forth. So, yes, it is mythology. The power of belief is the manipulation of harming forces, and of course, history, because this is very well documented. And one of the things that I knew from the beginning is that I didn't want my band to be talking about uh, cliche, death metal subjects like everybody's talking about, like, I don't know,
Right.
how to cut your family or your girlfriend, or giant piles of skeletons, or zombies. It's like something that
Right.
gets talked over and over and over again. So what I wanted to be sure is that our death metal music was combined and was to tie to something incorporeal and symbolic as imprecatory forces, which you don't see that much because usually this artsy belief system is a little bit more linked to the black metal bands than anything like
Right.
that. But again, I wanted it to inject a very big dosage of mysticism and esoteric knowledge to death metal music.
That's that's definitely very interesting, because you're absolutely right. Um, a lot of death metal. I mean, they deal in absolutes, either absolute evil or absolute, good. So with the actual theology behind, where you're interjecting a new element with the mysticism and everything, is definitely admirable, because not a lot of bands actually do that.
Yes. I think also this point is very safe, rely on the Luciferian concept or in the satanic imagery, and even that is overdone. We want to talk about evil forces that have nothing to do with Satan. We are talking about forces like the one who is coming from our pretty much our guardian angel, which is Avalal, and Avalal has been a very hidden figure since beginning of mankind. So this has nothing to do with the theological construction of God versus Satan versus anything like that. Although,
Right.
like I was telling you, sooner or later, all the cultures talking about imprecatory forces, they sooner or later merge. So you have the invocation of angels, and you have the invocations of demons as well, and that necessarily has nothing to do with the Bible or anything like that. It has to
Right.
do with figures who were around in man's mind and soul, and sometimes imagination for sure, since the
Right.
beginning of times.
Right. So with all of the songs and everything that you've been putting together, are you actually coming out with any new material or any new albums that you're working on, or?
We're working on 3 or 4 songs right now, and we are dying to just go to the studio and have them materialized, so we can keep ourselves alive and keep the band alive, and I don't know, just offer something to the world right now that is in a bubble, with everything that's going on right now. We don't know what to do, what to expect, but we certainly wake up in the morning trying to do our best to keep ourselves alive.
Right.
So that's what we're that's what we're trying to do. Yeah,
Now, if you don't mind me asking,
of course.
you had some writing on your palms. Was is there any particular meaning on those writings, or?
Everything that we do has everything that we do has meaning. There's absolutely nothing randomness about anything that we do. This is Dagenov, and this is Aramalor. There are, let's say, two opposite forces in a process of
Okay,
damning something, in the process of the imprecation.
gotcha.
And it's a very good reminder of the balance that we're supposed to maintain in the everyday life. Not everything has to be like, not everything mystical is actually out of reach. Uh, Balancing forces exist in our everyday life, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, and nothing to do with music, but I just recently got into a television show, which has a lot to do with the mysticism and the forces of good and evil, so to say. It's called Lucifer, but I mean the entire show's premise. Uh, I follow along more than your average person, I guess, because it's like there's a lot of underlying meanings per episode, which I really find fantastically interesting.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
So
I actually just started watching a lot of movies about stuff via Egypt and related stuff like that from their symbols and whatnot. So when you were showing your hands, I was like, man, that looks like stuff I've seen in the past from some of these recent movies, gods of Egypt and whatnot. Because back then, that was like the ruling class back in the early days. It
yes,
was
You're
really
absolutely
interesting.
you're absolutely correct. So we're relying on ancient times and antiquity, but certainly this is nothing new. It is very well documented in many cultures. And again, balancing forces.
Hmm.
Sometimes imprecation or damnation can be not only just to hurt, but also to protect.
Yeah.
Even when the tombs of the the Armenian people after the genocide, or even Jewish people or Egyptian people, like you just said yourself, they needed to find a way to keep their graves clean. That's actually a hint for what is more likely to be the name of our um, next release. Be
okay,
sure, be sure my grave is kept clean, which is a little bit of play of words. Is not only about the integrity of the monument, be sure that something is taken care of, but also is a warning to say, don't go there. Be sure that my resting place is very much untouched. And that's what the Egyptians did, some Jewish people, you name it. Many, many, many cultures try to protect their grave and loved ones. And that is some of the things that the lyrical concept of the band it is about. In the release, by Extreme Music, Tabula Defictionum. We pretty much designed an hexagonal design and initiation for all the subjects that we're starting to bring to the table, that we wanted to bring to the table. And yes, everything that you guys say is absolutely relevant.
Oh yes.
The music part is easy. Is death metal, is orthodox. Of course, we try to be as best musicians as we can, sometimes faster, certainly intricate because I want to maintain that a certain level of musicianship and mystery in the music. Like, oh, what was that? Suddenly something threw me off balance in the music. So I
Right.
think all of those things are like interesting, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep something that is interesting. Suddenly, the idea of going to seeing a guy with just short pants and in a t-shirt as
Right.
metal as
Right.
it is kind of like boring at this point. I think it is time to bring some show into it, and metal music is the perfect music for that.
It really is. With a lot of there's bands that have tried to I guess they would call it gimmicks, but if as long as you have a meaning behind your music that actually fits with what you're portraying on stage,
Yes.
then I really find that there's nothing wrong with something like that. But if you're just getting up there and you're playing covers of Limp Bizkit and you're trying to look like Slipknot, I think there's lots of problems with that.
Right, right, right. I think I see a lot of problems with that as well. I mean, even at this point, to see a band who is actually playing in black hoods is not a surprise anymore. We wanted to step away from that. Our clothing is ritual. Our clothing is linked to the linen, which is linked to so many things: earth, final resting place, necromancy, of course.
Right.
So yes, like you said yourself, try to have something more than just wearing black, putting a goat skull and a pentacle on stage and call it a day.
Right.
Um, Only bands like with a very very big money like Behemoth or Vatane can actually achieve that ritual satanic type of mass or type of celebration that they're trying to. But
Right.
the rest of the bands, again, just a goat
Well,
skull.
you
Not
know,
gonna
I,
do
I,
it. No.
I mean, sorry for cutting you off, but I actually find that the band Ghost is quite ridiculous because they kind of they overdo it to me. I mean, with the whole
Just a
Pope,
little.
yeah, with the Dark Pope and stuff like that, and I'm like, there's no need for that. So,
Yeah.
I
but
think that what Ghost need, what Ghost did is that they really dial into the show aspect of it.
Yeah.
yes,
And although the music might not be metal per se, it's, I guess, dark enough. It classifies it dark enough to justify to be represented in any way they want.
right,
Yeah.
you know,
But
and and a lot of people also don't realize that anything outside of Christianity is not a bad thing. I mean, paganism, which is a lot of mysticism and stuff like that, was touted as being pagan and stuff like that back in the was it 14th century, uh, which everything that wasn't Christian was evil. So there's a
right,
lot of stuff that's out there that is, like you said, balance. There's earth-driven stuff, but what I'm trying to say is that not everything that's presented as I guess anti-Christian is actually evil. So and that's what I whenever I first started talking to you, whenever we first started putting together this interview, I found it really interesting that there was subtext that I was reading that we weren't actually conveying in our messages. So
Right.
I knew that that the band itself was you know it was I didn't understand the balance side of things like what we were talking about just now, but I knew that this was definitely not going to be your normal interview with a couple guys going, oh yeah, we got together and I like Metallica. you know
Yay.
Of course, that we all metalheads as well. And again, you guys were asking about what was in my library in the back, and I am a very very proud metalhead. But I completely understand what you were saying, and that's what we're trying to convey in our message. Starting, like I said to you, in the album with a hexagonal design, and hexagonal design has obviously hexa, 6 elements, and those 6 elements represent a ritual step in the process of cursing somebody or something, and each symbol represents one of the songs, and yeah, I think it's something fascinating.
Oh
The
yeah.
elements of the hexacle are the flute, the barley and the wooden comb, the three-headed deity or hecatomnus in this case, the tablet and the nails, the skull and the knife, and the water vessel. So the first song, which is Chantu Awalal, the introductory chant, is is the music taken as a soul movement. Is the achievement of catharsis, awakening of passion, fear, enthusiasm. It's almost kind of like a purgative effect. And it's
Right.
also taking the breath that you use for the flute as a provider of life. That's for the first song. The second song is the barley and the wooden comb, which is an offering to the deities, a ritual of pacification. It turns out that one of the rituals that they did is to grab a wooden comb and brush the barley, like kind of like brushing someone's hair, because basically you're brushing the hair of the earth, and the that's kind of like the soothing and the silent phase between the ritual, the pacification and respect to the earth.
Right.
Then of course we have the deity. The deity is always used in the magical process of necromancy, or communication to the dead, or communication to imprecatory forces, because the deity and the forces are the one working the will, the torch, the fertility, the ways of entrance, the craft, the necromancy, the sorcery, if you will. That is the third song. The fourth song is the tablet and the nails. The material to practice the imprecation, the harming forces, the metaphysical powers. The nail actually used as support. The nail is so popular in metal music, by wearing it and represented it in many, many things. So
Right.
the nail is a support, is also transfixion because it's supposed to be a bridge of forces, is a binding action, and of course, is also physical suffering, which metal music represents a lot, right?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Then you have the fifth song, which is the skull and the knife, which is basically the sacrifice, what you offer. We all sacrifice something in life. At the end of the day, at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, you always sacrifice something in the name of something.
Exactly.
And then, yep, and then you have the final song, the final symbol of the hexacle, which is the water vessel. Is, well, water is
Right.
purification of every creature, the rejection of everything that is unclean, and cleansing the bloodbath. So it's basically also the simple message of clean your own mess after you're done.
Yep. No, that's definitely something that a lot of people don't realize. And I really appreciate the lighting of your the hexical and them relating to each one of your songs and everything. So I really appreciate that, and a lot of people that are listening or will listen in the future, that's something that you don't get from behind the music kind of stuff. So definitely, I appreciate you for enlightening
Yes, absolutely.
everybody from that.
We also don't like to keep anything too much in the dark. I think that to scream something that nobody understands is kind of like lame. People won't, although people might not relate at the end of the day, people won't relate to something that they do not understand whatsoever. So all of this explanation, all of these hexacle designs and initiations and it's
Yep.
almost a dictionary thing. It's almost a dictionary thing. Is everything is explained inside the album.
Okay.
We want to be sure that we share as much as we can. And again, talking about music, that is the easy part. It's just death metal, orthodox as we can, with of course a very, very strong touch of esoteric knowledge.
Now, if anybody's listening to this right now, I'm gonna go ahead and draw kind of like a parallel to something that I found like we were just talking about with the hexical, with the sacrifice, and everybody doesn't, they whenever they hear of metal music or they hear of something, darker or death metal or anything like that, they think automatically goats and stuff like that. But you don't realize that every day we are all sacrificing something. We sacrifice our lives for our kids. We sacrifice, we sacrifice daily
Fine for
for
money.
something.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whenever we're talking about metal music, don't just think inside the box. You got to think outside of it, because it's a world of of possibilities. So yeah. Now going back to this latest release that you had, the you had a song on there called Mazacrium. Mazacrium?
Massacrum, yes.
Was that okay?
Uh,
Now was
yes, so massacrum is kind of like the etymological origin of the word massacre, okay?
okay.
So massacrum means actually blood bath.
Okay.
And massacrum is the fifth song, which is the element that you just reflected, the
Right.
sacrifice. Um, and Extreme Music did an amazing job. Dave Rotten from Extreme Music did an amazing job representing what the band was in that lyrical video that for us is huge, because back then we didn't have anything ready to show on video and things like that. We were just starting the journey, and right now we're equipped, with in better ways.
Okay.
So yes, massacrum actually means bloodbath, and because it's the sacrifices even divided in the sections, that you can see in the lyric video.
Okay. So, with that being said, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and play the video for everybody from Mazacrium, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up the video or the interview. But yeah, I definitely want everybody to take a really close look at this particular song, because, I mean, it really stuck out to me. That for so many different reasons. There is Latin that's in the song, correct?
Yes. Well,
So
there are several languages in the song, but some of it is Latin. Yes, of course.
okay. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play Mazacrium. from our friends here with Defixion, and we will be right back.
Absolutely. So easy. The hell, Billy.
Hellbilly, Hellboy.
Hellbill- Hellbilly Deluxe, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
driven by Joe
So,
Davis.
all right, so that was Massacreum. And so that was exactly what we were all talking about. You know, don't try to box heavy metal into, just something that it's not. It's not always what everybody thinks it is. But I mean, that I really enjoyed that particular song. I know that some of the other songs that you have some more stuff on the Spotify, don't you?
Spotify. I think we're in iTunes as well. You can also visit the website of Extreme Music, extrememusic.com. You can find our music there. And yep, and of course, there's always the possibility of acquiring our physical copy that is kind of like selling out. So, which are very, very happy about that.
Awesome, that's amazing. Now, do you guys also have merchandise on that website, or do you have a separate website for merchandise?
We usually operate from Facebook from now. Um, and once you link, to our Facebook page, you have everything that we offer right there in terms of like
Awesome.
T-shirts and CDs and things like that.
Now we do have, if everybody hasn't seen down here below, down off to the bottom here, we do have the link. It's actually right next to Chris's face. Facebook.com/ Defixion. So definitely go there and visit their site, like their page, tell them Florida Metal Radio sent you, and it definitely, if you have questions after this interview, I'm sure that these guys would definitely be happy to answer, not all of them, but just not gonna go into large details, but I'm sure that they would help you understand their music just a little bit better. I know that so
Find them on the internet. Check them on Facebook. Go send them a message.
yeah, exactly.
They have a
Yes,
Gmail.
yes,
So
absolutely.
so now that we've gone through, basically the album, what the album means, what are some of your inspirations and stuff like that, musically, who are some of your musicians that inspired you to become a musician yourself?
Well, I went through the classic phase of, I don't know, discovering the Kill 'Em All of Metallica, for example, and just opening a whole universe of music. And I think that, again, in my case, Kill 'Em All of Metallica opened my brain, my eyes to speed, aggression. As Metallica said, tuning into the negative side of the battery. And once that gate opened, well, it was just a matter of finding faster, darker metal.
Right.
So I actually, when it comes to making my music, I try not to listen to metal music that much. I like to actually get inspired by other types of music, like Diamanda Galas or Dead Can Dance, or I
Okay.
don't know, can be fusion like Vespero or Snarky Puppy, you name it.
Okay.
The most varied, the most different the music is actually a little bit more inspiring to me. If I listen to, I don't know, whatever, Entombed, I'm gonna end up sounding like them. And we're not trying to open any door to innovation. We're not like, for example, Immolation, who created a new colorful way to play death metal music, or bands like Nile, who completely went full into Oriental and Asian and Middle Eastern scales into their music, mixed with a very strong uh, Egyptian concept, of course. So we're not trying to reinvent the fire, but
Okay.
we are certainly trying to keep it as particular and unpredictable as possible.
That's
I think
awesome.
that the future challenge for us will be how to mix chanting into ritual chanting into death metal music. That is a very interesting
I find
concept.
that ritualistic chanting is very calming and soothing to me. It not so much. Well, in all honesty, I've listened to all of it. I've listened to uh, the chanting music from Latin chanting. I've listened to Buddhist monk chanting.
Yes,
Um, I've even listened to the war chants of the Cherokee tribes, that were recorded, centuries ago. So,
yes,
so a lot of that, you don't hear it a lot today, but those kind of chants are very heartfelt
yes,
and very emotional. And
yes,
a lot of people think that they're just saying noises, but every single one of those noises that you're hearing has a meaning. So,
absolutely, absolutely, and that's the thing. We're also taking music as a connection, between two worlds, a ladder between two worlds, if you may,
right.
world of the forces and the world of the human flesh.
Yes. Yes.
So
Absolutely.
yes, so I'm really glad that you're listening to this type of things because it actually opens your brain and opens your being to different perceptions, different things.
And
So
that's something else that I try to preach, especially to my kids, is that if you say that you love music, you have to be open to all music before you can actually say that you like music.
yes,
Because I mean, music comes from within. It touches the soul, it touches us all, and without having to take us to court. Um,
yes,
so, but I mean,
absolutely,
right. So I mean, it's something that we all need to be quite open to. Just Chris and I were just talking with one of our guests here a couple of weeks ago about doing a uh, around the world. So metal, it's going to be metal around the world for the week
April.
of Earth,
Yeah.
Earth Day. So April.
yes,
But we've got a couple death metal bands that are wanting to be on the show. One of
nice,
them being from Japan. Another one being from I'm gonna say Norway. So I mean, it's all you get to hear everybody's different regions,
Yeah.
and everybody's interpretation of this type of music.
that's true.
So
Music's been created in so many different like wavelengths almost from like just the sonic version all the way to the death metal. I mean, there's so many levels and versions, and people are just trying to create their own, and it's just so neat to see that. And like and then sometimes you're like, oh, these sound like these guys. Well, actually, that's not. They're two different people. They're two different bands, two different deals, but they might sound the same, but they're created differently.
right,
So it's just the creative process that went through it all.
Absolutely, I think that after black metal, which is the extreme genre that can mutate the most, death metal is fairly boundless as well. You can play as slow as you want, as fast as you want, technical, dirty, and even, hey, bands like in the 90s Atheist or Cynic introduced the progressive element into death metal music to say, truly, this has no boundaries. You can be as square as you want to be or as prodigy as you want to be.
yes,
There's no limits.
yeah,
There
absolutely.
are no limits.
I completely and totally concur with that, which is another reason why I really gravitated towards you guys sound like whenever I book bands for the show. I don't automatically just, say, hey, absolutely, we're going to go ahead and put you in the books. I listen to what you guys have to offer while we're in the middle of our conversation. So it's like whenever you and I were having our conversation initially, I went ahead and and I pulled up Mesogrium, and
Yes.
I listened, and I said, okay, I can really appreciate this on so many different levels, and that's whenever I said, okay, let's go ahead and book you guys to be on our show, because I thought that there was um, a lot of things that people could definitely get from this particular interview.
Yes.
I think that they can get from the message that you guys are relaying, and I think that they can get musically as well. So
Yes. So of course that at the end of the day we are, I don't know, Michael and Peter, uh, Brad and Chris playing music, but we wanted to take the humanity, the boxed humanity out of it. And we're not trying to scare anybody, although we are messing with some scary energies as evocations and invocations and vox mysticis and deities that have been forgotten, and that's why we also say inside the album, be careful, be careful, don't use these invocations very lightly. We don't want to be responsible of any manipulations of energies that you don't understand. But this is what we wear like this because we don't want to be, I don't want to be Louis on stage. I don't want the people to be focused on my hair or if my hair looks good or if I'm losing hair or if I have the t-shirt of the right band. I want to offer something else. And one of the
right.
things that we have been very successful about is that when we get on stage, when we're actually in the process of chanting and getting on stage, people just shut up because they don't know what to expect. And that
And
is music to our ears.
oh yeah,
So thank you. So thanks to Awalal, we have found what defines us, all the Anaba mode, all the Aguay, all the Abrasax. Awalal si muove. So we are very, very happy that we're finding this niche, this way to say things in a different manner, and we just want to evolve. So things are gonna get darker, a little bit more brutal, better.
okay, right on. And so when can everybody listening? When can we expect this new music to drop?
In a couple of months, we're gonna be updating the Facebook, and our website or whatever. So anybody who's curious about that can kind of like be part of that process as well. And
Okay,
I'm not sure we're gonna print the new material in physical form, maybe, but I don't think so. We just want to give the music away and not being interested in somebody has to the money to pay it or not. We just want to give it away. We just want to exist. We just want to give something and to belong something, to belong to something greater than us.
that's awesome. Definitely. I
Yes.
mean, a lot of people would appreciate that. With the state of the world that it is right now, that's definitely some people can see that as a gift, and and I for one appreciate, that the hard work and the dedication that you guys have been putting into actually making the music, and able to share your craft with the world like that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys.
Absolutely. So, we're sorry for the interview for being so early in the day, because you guys are definitely on the Pacific Coast. I mean, I hope it is not really interfering with anything that you've had planned with the rest of the day. But we here at Florida Metal Radio are very humbled and very thankful for your time today, and we just want to say thank you for being on the show, and thank you for for enlightening all of us.
As we were talking today, first of all, let me tell you now that the timing is perfect because it's almost 7 p.m. here, so it is really nice. And second, as we were talking about today, if we want to give a piece of art, a piece of ourselves, we have to sacrifice something. And sometimes that can be time, can be money, can be physical strength, can be blood, can be mental strength, can be so many things. And we are absolutely happy to sacrifice a little bit of our time to be part of you guys, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're being part of you.
And we are definitely humbled for that. Thank you very much. So everybody else that's listening, definitely go to Defixiones for their Facebook. It is facebook.com Defixiones, and make sure that you listen to their new stuff, listen to their older stuff. Definitely get plugged in with these guys. You guys have been great, and we're definitely going to plug you guys as much as we possibly can on our show, and from here on out. So, but thank you, like I said, once again, very much for being on the show. You guys are now part of the Florida Metal family, and we are definitely going to continue to support.
Thank you guys for your time and everything. So a lot of balance for you guys. Um, Keep doing what you do, and we're gonna do what we do, always under the wings of the presence that has been present, literally present for us, which is Avalal. So, in the name of the band, in the name of Avalal, I truly give you the best desire and blessings that you can have. Uh, in the name of Eronoi Agua, Emethir, Besinor Sonoir, Amunei, Dagunath. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So that's a wrap for today. Thank you all for tuning in to Florida Metal Radio. And I don't know, I'm going to go ahead and say like I normally say it. And I'm not going to mess it up this time, Chris.
Banana peels.
So, what?
No banana peels.
All right. So, as the immortal Ricky Rackman once said, keep one foot in the gutter, one fist in the gold, keep it real, keep it metal, and fuck yeah.